Hi, everyone. I'm Taylor Combaluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud. This session of our Green Energy Conference will feature grid metals. From the company, we have with us Dr. Dave Peck, Vice President, Exploration and Business Development. I'll remind attendees that if you have any questions, you can just type them in through the event application, and we'll get to them at the end of the session during the Q&A portion. The presentation is also available on the conference website. And with that, I'll turn it right over to Dave to guide us through the story.
Thank you, Taylor, and good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you today. Great conference. It's been a terrific success so far. I'll give you a 15-minute snapshot of grid metals, our strategy, the commodities we're in, obviously in the green metals space, and also our plan going forward. We've got three key assets in the company. Basically, the strategy has been to hold high potential magmatic nickel, copper, and PGE projects in safe jurisdictions in Ontario and Manitoba, in established mining camps with the wherewithal to develop these and to mine them, and near processing facilities in the case of our two projects in Ontario. So we'll go through a quick update on each of these and then leave you with some thoughts on the lift points coming for the company throughout the remainder of this year, and a little bit of a longer term view on our strategy. We'll start in Ontario. We've got two projects there, one in the Timmins camp called Bannockburn. It's a high potential exploration stage project targeting bulk disseminated nickel sulfide mineralization. We'll call it Crawford style. It's very similar in geology and mineralogy to what Canada Nickel has put together in terms of resources, grade, width for Crawford. And you've heard about that in this conference. And also our East Bow Lake Palladium project, which I consider the top ranked exploration project for palladium in North America, based on its size and established mineralized trend. And then finally, we'll close off with an update on our Makwa-Mayville asset in Manitoba. It's an advanced stage project at the PEA stage, and we'll be moving to update the PEA on that with a lot more information than we had when we did it last in 2014. So I'll give you a snapshot on where we're going with Makwa-Mayville. Effectively, we've got these three assets, two at the discovery phase nearing resource delineation in Ontario, the two Ontario projects, and then Makwa-Mayville already there, with lots of room for improvement and establishing a real value for the company by updating that PEA study. The company is managed by Robin Dunbar, our CEO and president, and also director. He's been running the company for over 20 years. And his experience base is pretty much focused in the nickel and PGE commodities. He's been steering the ship for a number of years, and especially through some difficult times, but been able to build and hold on to these three core assets despite some pretty tough times for the junior sector a few years ago. So we've come out the other end. Robin and I joined forces in early 2020. Robin's a director currently of McEwen Mining and also a former director of Western Areas. So he's been with companies that have gone from exploration to production in Western Areas there. My background is all in magmatic sulfide and nickel, PGMs, copper, and nickel projects around the world. I worked with Anglo American for many years, leading the nickel exploration team there, and also working closely with Anglo Platinum colleagues looking at projects around the world. So I got a very good sense of what ore looks like in terms of magmatic nickel, copper, and PG. And then I recently left North American Palladium prior to its sale to Impala Platinum at the Lac des Îles mine, where I was part of the turnaround team that delivered the $1 billion price tag for the sale of that asset to Impala. So we've built a technical team slowly over the past few months as we're moving forward on a number of fronts. Some of the names here on the right side of the slide may be familiar to people, but that team is growing, and I'm very comfortable this team can lead us through all the targets and thresholds we've set for ourselves on each of these assets. I won't go through the markets for these green metals. We've probably heard lots about that already at the conference, but we're on both sides of the carbon reduction equation by choice. Palladium obviously is something I'm very familiar with, and I feel we can unlock value on our East Lake project. While the palladium market is still strong and there's still a structural deficit in terms of supply and demand, and get a major PG mining company to come to the table once we've established the resource potential there. On the other side is on the EV side and the battery metals, nickel and copper and cobalt, as well as lithium. We do have a lithium portfolio in Manitoba. So we're on both sides, and I think we're in a good position to benefit from increased demand on the structural side for the base metals, as well as continued strong support for carbon reduction through autocatalysts and palladium autocatalysts in gasoline burning engines. That's not going to just fall off the charts. It'll wane a little bit as EVs grow, but the market's still in such a deficit that we think we're smart to be in both sides. I'm just going to run through an update on the three projects. I mentioned Bannockburn, where we're targeting bulk tonnage disseminated nickel sulfide, a very intriguing style of mineralization. It's predominantly a secondary nickel sulfide style of mineralization, relatively low grades in the 0.3s and 0.4 range, but over tremendous widths, 100, 200, up to 300 meters wide. We have historical drilling on our Bannockburn project that got us, I guess, rekindled our interest based on the success that Canada Nickel has had with Crawford, and a very similar style of mineralization. Also in the same district, the Timmins district. So we had historical information, we had historical drilling on what we call our B zone. This is a magnetic map of our B zone target. It's at least 1.2 kilometers of strike length, but it may be bigger than that. It actually extends to the northeast another kilometer, and it can go a bit further south, so it might be up to 3 kilometers long. But we're focused on the initial 1 kilometer where the historic drilling had been done. Some pretty significant widths and of this low-grade disseminated style mineralization. You can see some of the historical results here. But recently we started infill drilling on this trend. We completed 8 holes in the spring, finished that in late May, early June. And we've reported on one of those holes. We will be reporting on the remaining 7 holes during the summer, but the first result was encouraging. In an intersection of almost 300 meters starting at the bedrock interface below the till cover of almost 0.3%, with slightly higher grade subsections in that. So that was a good start for us. Then, like I said, we'll have the remaining 7 holes reporting over the next couple of months. Our goal is to deliver something that shows tonnage potential of 1 to 200 million tons of the 0.3 to 0.4% nickel, similar grade to what they have at the main zone at Crawford. And then to do the mineralogy work, as you would have noted if you've read the PEA released by Canada Nickel. Mineralogy is critical here. You need to establish the amount of recoverable nickel, not just total nickel, but recoverable nickel in the form of either hazelwoodite or pentlandite. The previous work we've done at Crawford, at Bannockburn, showed that most of the nickel sulfide present is hazelwoodite. And that's really good because hazelwoodite is almost 74% nickel. It's a pure nickel sulfide, secondary sulfide mineral, and it can produce a very high con grade, premium grade, world-class con over 30%. So that's a real focus for the project, is the mineralogy metallurgy, as well as establishing the tonnage potential for potential open pit. So depending on the results, we may be back drilling a resource delineation drilling here in the fall. The company's cashed up at the moment. We've got $4 million in the till, and we can allocate that as required, depending on success here at Bannockburn. East Bull Lake is the next project I'll provide a quick update on. That's our project 80 kilometers west of Sudbury. It's been the focus for the company's exploration spending over the last year. We've had 3 relatively small drill programs focused in the center of the property, shown here in the yellow rectangle at the Parisian Lake zone. And you can see this is the sort of outline of the intrusion in white. It's 20 kilometers long. There's a scale bar here at the top of the map. And all these colored circles are anomalous palladium samples taken at surface or in shallow drilling, historical drilling. Basically, you've got a sheet or tabular zone of mineralization right at the bottom of the intrusion, which is especially well exposed along the southern margin, which I'm outlining here. Canadian Palladium, who just presented before us, has this section of the property, and they're at a little bit more advanced stage. They've got an initial resource, and they'll be updating that in the near future. But we've got the dominant land position here, and we've got a huge number of targets to go after, most of which either have only a bit of drilling or no drilling whatsoever. So the challenge for the company at East Bull has been to show that we've got continuous zone of mineralization that might support an open pit resource. This is a zoom in map of East Bull Lake, a central Parisian Lake zone. Our recent drilling in the red and the blue circles from 2020 and 2021 included our discovery hole from late 2020, East Bull Lake 20-13, which ran over a gram palladium equivalent over an approximate true thickness of about 70 meters or downhole length of 120 meters approximately. So that's the kind of grade thickness we want to see over good lateral continuity. So we've got the central Parisian Lake zone as sort of our first proof of concept. We've got the grades and thicknesses needed to support surface mining in the future, and it's open for 2 kilometers to the west. So this could be a 3+ kilometer long mineralized trend. And our current programming at East Bull is looking at a number of similar areas, focusing on this lower stratigraphy, or what we call the basal layer, which carries most of the palladium. This is a map of the resistivity of the property. And what we see at Parisian Lake is that almost universally, where we get good grades and thicknesses in the basal layer, we have a strong resistivity low, which is in the dark blues and purples here. So we've got a number of these anomalies. Just going to move this control here. A lot of which have no drilling at all. Some have limited drilling and that's been shown to be mineralized. A lot of these areas have anomalous PGs at surface, outcropping basal layer mineralization. The cumulative strike length of all of these anomalies is over 20 kilometers. And as I said, most have not been drilled. So we've got a team out there this summer, sampling, prospecting, doing infill work. And based on the results of that surface sampling and mapping, we will prioritize 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these areas for drilling starting sometime in the fall. So stay tuned. We're at the discovery phase. I think there's going to be a lot of exciting news coming from East Bull Lake, not just from the Parisian Lake area, but some of these other targets. And then finally, closing off of the Makwa-Mayville project in Manitoba. This was the company's flagship property and supported a $100 million market cap for the company a few years ago, before the wheels sort of fell off the nickel and copper markets and prices declined sharply. But we're in a buoyant market again, and now it's time to resurrect this project. It's based on 2 separate deposits. It's in the Bird River Greenstone Belt of southeast Manitoba, just over 100 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg, road accessible like all of our projects, great infrastructure, active mining at the Tanko cesium mine, rare earth metal mine, which is adding a lithium stream now, just south of our Makwa property. and then a past producing nickel sulfide mine at Makwa, which was operated by Falconbridge in the 70s. So we've got these two assets here. There was a PEA done on the project. It contemplated two open pits feeding a single concentrator located at Mayville. Mayville's the copper-rich project, Makwa's nickel. Here's the resources that were used in the PEA in 2014. Almost 40 million tons of disseminated to semi-massive sulfide mineralization from the two projects, and a decent sort of in situ nickel grade and total metal value of over 3 billion in terms of contained metal at current prices. So we've got a nice asset here, but the PEA definitely needs updating. That's what we're starting to do right now. Lots of metallurgy done since 2014. So we will be embarking on the new PEA. We're going to be adding cobalt to Mayville. We've got better nickel recoveries at Mayville, and we want to take this project to feasibility, and we have the team to do it, and we'll be executing on that in the next few weeks. We also have a palladium rich zone. I don't have time to talk about it, but you can look at our presentation at Mayville. 9 meters of 9 grams, nothing to sneeze at. Lots of upside there as well. Just in terms of market comps, I'll leave you with this thought. Grid Metals is highly undervalued. Even if we just look at Makwa-Mayville, we're not getting any real value for this project. So that's on us, and we're going to turn the corner on that this year. And with the new PEA, that'll be establishing a new value for the company when that comes out. We've got lots of lift points coming, lots of news coming from all 3 projects, and we're able to manage all of them and really get good value for our shareholders. So that concludes my talk, and open it up to questions. Taylor?
Great, thanks a lot, Dave. That was a great presentation. So we do have a question in already. Could you please estimate the impact on CapEx if you were obliged to go underground to extend your exploration along depth?
And that's specifically for Makwa-Mayville, or is that?
I believe so. That's when the question came in.
Yeah, in fact, we're doing a trade-off study right at the moment on an underground mining option. And we're kind of 3/4 of the way through that. It will actually reduce the CapEx, especially up front, because we'd be looking at a higher grade but smaller combined project between Makwa and Mayville. We'd probably look at a smaller pit as well initially for Mayville, reducing the strip ratio, reducing the fleet size, reducing the size of the mill. Could go with a much smaller mill, probably take a 75 million bucks off the mill CapEx with this different approach. And if that leads to better NPVs, that's the way we're going to go. But until we do the full PEA, the trade-off study is just going to guide us to which base case we're going to use. But that CapEx should come down with the underground option. It'll be some kind of shrinkage. It's a pretty nice ore body for underground mining.
Okay. Next question. Just wondering about some of the more recent results at the East Bull Lake. There were some that were to the south, I guess. I think there were 2 holes or so with results south of the Parisian Lake deformation zone. Are those offset from the kind of core zone you're focusing on, or is it a potential continuation across the zone?
Yeah, well, so we think the Parisian Lake shear zone, deformation zone, is actually a vertical feeder structure, and that it actually was spilling out to the south and north. It looks like there's also block movement along it, so that the southern part has moved up, and it may have shifted to the west. So there might be a bit of an offset, but the mineralization at the south is actually right at surface. It's outcropping. And as you go north into the main area we've been drilling, it starts to dip gently to the north. So it goes from outcropping to just, tens of meters, a few tens of meters below surface. So I think it is connected, but we need more drilling to fill in all those gaps. There's not much drilling on that south target area at all.
Right. Okay. And then just really quickly, we're almost out of time. Have you applied for a US OTC symbol? And if so, when can we expect trading in the US?
Yeah, the company is already trading. If you look at any of our press releases, the information on the OTC is there, and the listing symbol is there as well. So yes, you can buy Grid stock in the US now.
Perfect. So with that, we'll leave it there. So thank you very much, Dave, for presenting Grid Metals to us.